What's up, football fans? Welcome back to another episode of By the Numbers. It's Kevin Emmons here with my co-host, Chris Baker. We have Roderick Boyd working the magic behind the scenes, producing, doing all the magic as he always does. Welcome you guys back to another show, episode 5 of By the Numbers. Tonight, we have two guests for you tonight. We got a player coming on and a coach to kind of recap some big games that happened this past weekend and look ahead, I should say, to some other games this weekend. So, Chris and Rick, what's up, guys?
What's up, Kev?
What's up? What's up? What's going on, Kev?
How you guys been? How was your weekend? How's everything been so far? I know it's early in the week. It's another Tuesday, so I know the week's young, but how's your guys' week been so far?
You go ahead, Chris.
Pretty good. Same stuff. Just working, checking out the football games around the weekend, and hanging out, watching the Phillies. Hopefully, get ready for a deep playoff run.
Yeah, same. Highlight of the weekend was the Eagles game, of course, but just been relaxing, man. Trying to set some things up for the future that we got coming up.
Absolutely. So we're back here again, like I said, episode 5, and we got two guests for you tonight. You guys checked out our show last week. You seen we had Cedar Creek coach James Melody hop on. So this week we're expanding a little bit, bringing two guests on, give you a player's perspective and also a coach's perspective. So I know we usually start off with the question of the day. Today I figured I'd cook up some trivia for you guys. Now, I'm not going to blindside you. I'm not going to make it an open-ended question where you guys are just going to be left guessing because it's a very specific question I came across today. Going through some archives, looking at some lists and whatnot, seeing a lot of notable names. It's like, I think this would be a good trivia question. So I give you guys multiple choices, 4 choices. So the question of the day, the trivia question is, who led South Jersey in receiving yards in 2015? Now, here are your options. You have A, Marquise Bell, who obviously went to Bridgeton High School, is with the Dallas Cowboys right now. You have B, Kelvin Harmon, who went to Palmyra High School, who had a stint with the Washington Redskins prior to them being the Washington football team and then the Washington Commanders. You have C, Bo Melton, who was a standout at Cedar Creek, who is currently with the Green Bay Packers. And we have D, Cameron Chambers, a standout at Timber Creek Regional High School, who went on to play at Michigan State. So I'll let you guys both take a guess. Chris, I'll put you on the spot first. Out of those 4, who do you think led South Jersey in receiving that year?
I feel like there's almost like a not really a intentional theme with the show this week, but I'm gonna keep with the unintentional theme that we have for the guests this week. I'm gonna stick in Burlington County. I'm gonna go Kelvin Harmon.
Kelvin Harmon. So you're going Kelvin Harmon, final answer.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Rick, we'll get you involved too. Who do you think it is? Do you need me to go through the names again?
Um, nah, my bad. I was drinking and eating and all that, but I'm curious to know if some of the fans know, like, if they could comment too, who they think it could be. But 2015, that was Max and. Mm, all right, so 2015 for Powermire, I'm thinking about the passing leaders. I believe Max is was it like one of the all-time passers. So him and Kelvin was a dynamic duo, but I know they had someone else on that team that was really good, legit too, a receiver as well. This is a trick question, Kev, because um, 2015, um, Marquise Bell was a phenomenal standout. I think he was a state champion high jumper that year. I can't remember who his quarterback was. And then you said Bo Melton.
Yes.
Yo, this a good one. This a good one. Bo Melton. Who was his core? I think was it Barrios? Was his? I think that's his name. Last name. I'm
I
just
believe
trying
it
to
was
think of.
Jesse Mills at the time. Jesse
Okay,
Mills.
Milza
And then Barrios was a little bit later on,
was
around the
later
time I think Chris was playing and
with
whatnot.
his brother. Okay, all right. And then Cam Chambers was with Leary, but they had
Yes.
Dante Wall on that team. They had, oh man, they had both teams. So we going, man, this is a hard one. I'm just trying to run it down in my brain. 2015, listen, I'm old, so sometimes it don't run back that far. I'm trying to put it all together. I'm gonna go with Cam Chambers.
So Cam
Even
Chambers,
e-
D,
e-
final answer.
even though I know I'm wrong, but I'm going with Cam.
Hey, it's a good
Chat,
guess. Like you said, he was with Devin Leary. It's a good
chat.
guess.
Who
Do we got
y'all got? Chat, please comment. Who do you have? It was Kelvin Harmon. You said Bo Melton, Cam Chambers. Who else you
and
had?
Marquise Bell?
And Marquise Bell. See, I eliminated Marquise because Marquise was man. I got pictures 2015. I had pictures of those guys during that time period. But I'm a leaning towards Cam. I'm at
Cam
Cam.
Chambers, all right. So we got both of our answers submitted, and looks like with our first ever trivia question of the day, Chris is correct. It was Kelvin Harmon.
No
There's, like I said,
way.
it was a list I found today going through Courier Post archives and whatnot. I found a list of receiving leaders from 2015. Kelvin Harmon was first in South Jersey that year, 1,106 yards on 66 catches. Now, you mentioned his quarterback, Max Smythe, who was the only quarterback to throw for 3,000 yards in South Jersey that year. They ended up going to the Central Jersey Group 1 championship. They lost to Shore Regional
Yep.
in that final. They finished the season 10-2. You also mentioned another one of his receivers, Taj Harris, who spent some
Yep.
time at Syracuse
At
University.
Syracuse.
He was second in South Jersey that year
Yep.
in receiving, only 5 yards less than Kelvin Harmon. So I guess that's so. I got someone I could have put in the answers there, but I didn't. So another good guess. But yeah, he was 5 yards behind Kelvin Harmon with a fraction of the catches. So I mean, that was definitely a dynamic duo, and they went to a sectional final that year. So that's your answer, Kelvin Harmon. He was in first there, and there was a lot of good names on that list: Bo Melton, Marquise Bell, obviously, Cam Chambers. Timber Creek was loaded with wide receivers that year. Everett Wormley at Burlington Township was on that
Yep.
list, who's now coaching at Winslow. A lot of good guys on that list. So thank you guys for participating in our first ever trivia question. So next week I'll let one of you guys do it, and hopefully you could stump me. So moving forward, we last show we like to highlight some of the guys locally that are playing college ball now, professional ball right now, who had some big games over the weekend. And last week, as I said, was the first time we did it. We got a couple usual suspects back on the list this week. Just starting off with in the NFL, Jonathan Taylor rushed for 102 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Colts' 41-20 win over the Tennessee Titans. Jonathan Taylor still leading the NFL in rushing right now, in rushing yardage, I should say. 338 yards. He currently has more yards than 17 NFL teams do through 3 weeks. So all to an incredible start this year. And another player we mentioned on the show last week in the NFL, Bashul Tutin from Paulsboro, who scored his first career touchdown in a loss to the Cincinnati Bengals last week, scored a touchdown again this week in the Jacksonville Jaguars 17-10 win over the Houston Texans in an AFC South battle. Then a couple guys we have in college. Raheem Long had a good game, 8 tackles, a sack, a pass deflection, and a tackle for loss. And Syracuse's massive 34-21 win on the road against Clemson. Raheem Long played at Camden High School. JoJo Bermudez, 4 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown for Temple. As we said, we had his Cedar Creek coach James Melody on last week. He talked about JoJo Bermudez, who was on that team that went 13-0 and won a regional championship a couple years ago. We mentioned him on the show. He talked about how he was excelling right now. And he followed that up with a good performance in Temple's setback to Georgia Tech, 4 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown. And then someone we mentioned on the show also last week, Joe Nathan Silver from Washington Township, had another good game for Delaware, 66 yards and a touchdown, and they defeated Florida International 38-16. Now, Chris, I know we were talking over the weekend, and there was a local FCS school who had a huge game over the weekend. They scored a lot of points, and you had a couple numbers from that game, I know.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, technically, really, two local FCS schools, Villanova, and Monmouth. A lot of both heavily recruit South Jersey a lot. And with that, I mean, South Jersey guys really showed out for Monmouth. Elijah Jennings, back-to-back weeks now with rushing touchdowns for Monmouth. Hunter Watson had a really good day as well. I think he had a sack, tackle for a loss. Robert Adamson from St. Augustine got in on a sack as well, even though if for some reason it's not showing up as it. But I physically watched the game and saw him get a sack, so I'm not sure why it didn't show up on the stat sheet. But Chris Palmer Jr., who's a Philly guy, not a South Jersey guy, but I got to see him last year for Roman Catholic. Had a pretty good day as well. Had a pass break up and a couple tackles. So a lot of guys in the area, whether it's South Jersey or Philadelphia, they're really making a name for themselves over at Monmouth, and then Villanova as well too. So I mean, both of them really recruit the two areas pretty heavily.
Absolutely. And each week, I mean, we know this is a good area in football, South Jersey, New Jersey as a whole, including, the Shore, North Jersey, Central Jersey, Philadelphia, just the simple tri-state area. You got New York City that's, not too far from here. So we see plenty of talent at the NFL level, the college level, both, FBS, FCS, Division II, Division III, guys getting it done each week. And I expect to see more of that as the year goes on because obviously a lot of guys from South Jersey who have gone away to college in the past year or two who may be redshirting right now or may have a smaller role right now, they'll continue to grow into larger roles. And we'll definitely be talking about more guys as, the years progress and this show progresses. So moving forward, I know you were out this past weekend. You were at a game. You were at a couple games. Just take us through the games you went to this past weekend and, some takeaways you had from those games.
Yeah, so Thursday night I went to Willingboro at Gloucester, a West Jersey Football League Continental Division matchup, where the last two times Willingboro got the best of Gloucester. The first time they ever matched up was in the 2022 Central Jersey Group 2 final at Gloucester. Willingboro won that one 20-7, I'm pretty sure. And then last year in division matchup at Willingboro won that one. I think it was 21-7, or it might have been like 22-14 or something like that. And it was a fairly close game, one possession game. But this year, Gloucester righted those wrongs at home on a Thursday night. It was senior night. They had their senior festivities before the game in the school. They're one of the schools that they don't do the senior festivities during the game at halftime or before the game. They do it before the game in the school in the media center towards the main entrance of the school. And they do all the fall sports there as well. But yeah, Gloucester's defense really stood out to me. Harry Ulmer is a freak athlete as a linebacker. Had 18 tackles, a sack, a couple tackles for a loss. Had a huge sack on fourth down when Willingboro was kind of starting to piece some things together on offense. Put a decent drive together. A couple minutes left, and he just kind of halted that ship there. Ibby Hudwell really stood out for me running the ball for Gloucester too. I know the past couple of years, he had to sit behind guys like Mason Woodman, Trevor Burkhart, and then even the guys before them too. So for him to be the main guy this year running the ball, I think that he kind of really stood out. And then Friday, I was at Winslow at St. Augustine, the 1-2 at the time in South Jersey. And Winslow, the final score 19-6 doesn't really dictate how the game went. It kind of just was all Winslow from the second quarter on.
Yeah, and that's a huge win, for them, obviously, going into the week, as you said, number 1 versus number 2 in South Jersey. Winslow's on the road and obviously coming off that loss to Bergen Catholic. So definitely a great spot for them to, a get-right game there for them, and they prove a statement, they make a statement and show that they're still the top team to beat in South Jersey. And holding a team as good as St. Augustine to 6 points is obviously a statement in itself. So definitely a huge win for them going forward because obviously when you're chasing a state championship, the road doesn't get any easier. So definitely a huge win for them to get back in the win column there.
Yeah, for Winslow, like I said, the score doesn't necessarily dictate how the game really went. It really was all Winslow. Parker set the career passing yards record now at Winslow. I'm pretty sure he's the youngest to do it. I think he's at 5,702 now, if I'm correct. I got to double check, but I do know that I was talking to some of the guys after the game that Jalen Parker did set the record for the career all-time passing yards, and I got to imagine his passing touchdowns are pretty close too, because I mean he's almost at 100, and he's only a junior, so he's just kind of making his name there. Nakeem Powell, as past couple of weeks as he has been, even against IMG, Bergen Catholic, he's looked really, really good running the ball. Karan Ali moved up. I think he was a safety now, or a safety, or one of those hybrid safety linebackers. They got him now playing like almost like a in the box linebacker now. He really showed out against St. Augustine too. It was like a heat-seeking missile of the ball essentially. And the guys up front for Winslow, it was almost sort of like it's their third game being outsized, but for them it was the third time's the charm, where they might have been outsized or something like that, but they still won the battles up front when they needed to, and it really proved crucial in the end.
Let me ask you something, Chris. You spoke about Ali moving down in the box. Um, was that kind of the key to the defense? Because St. Aug, they like to outnumber you. So was he? I saw he won the hat and things like that. But how effective was he in that run game? Was he able to, get tackles for losses? What was his role in moving down in the box?
Yeah, Roman Coney broke off just about pretty much maybe one or two big runs, and I only had one for like I think 40 or 50 yards, but that was really about it. Coney did get injured though. I will say that he did get injured, and he didn't play the majority of the second half. But
Hmm.
regardless, the run defense, Ali pretty much kind of helped be the first one there almost. And he might not have recorded a tackle every time, but him just being there and being able to stuff the run, or his presence of being able to stuff up the gaps and clog the gaps up so that way, no one can kind of break big runs off. I
Hmm.
think the presence of having speed there with the physicality really helped shut down the running game for Winslow.
Got you.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, a huge win there for Winslow to get back on track, and a couple other big wins around the region for some teams as well. Rancocas Valley, a team that was going into a huge game with Shawnee, going on the road. Their quarterback, as we mentioned on the last show, is injured. Savian Adams, who's headed the mom at the dual threat quarterback. RV goes on the road. They're trailing early. They find a way to grind out a 17-14 win over Shawnee, a team who defeated Camden a week earlier, 21-20. And then you have Camden, who pulled out a huge win going on the road to Holy Spirit, winning 28-14, a team they lost to last year. They respond this year. They get their revenge, so to speak. I know Ibn Muhammad had a kick return for a touchdown in that game. I know he rushed for a touchdown. He had a huge game there. And Ahmad Jones made his debut from the Pleasantville transfer at quarterback, and he played very well as well. Down there in Absecon, that's his old territory down there. So that was definitely a huge win for them and for both of those teams, in which will set up a huge matchup, which we'll talk about later on in the show. And then I know Haddonfield had a huge win over Seneca, 14-11. And speaking of, we just mentioned Pleasantville. Pleasantville with a huge win, 6-0 over
Yeah.
Paul VI, which was a huge win for them. I know that's a program that's you know they're developing right now. They have a first year coach with Elijah Glover who played at Pleasantville and then went on to have a solid career at Villanova. Great leader, was a scholar athlete at Pleasantville and at Villanova. Someone who's built to lead young men and have Pleasantville going in the right direction. And a 6-0 win for them against Paul VI is huge. That's a team we talked about a couple weeks ago. We've seen they played RV very close. Then they kind of had a letdown against Seneca, who's also another very good team, but they didn't, play up to their standard. Pleasantville losing 32-6 in that game. To bounce back, go on the road and beat Paul VI 6-0, shut down a good team like that was a huge win for them. So, any other games that stood out to you guys throughout the region in terms of statement wins or statement performances, simply based on how a team performed?
I mean, we kind of touched on them, but for a fact, I have to say this before we transition into the next part. You touched on it. This is college. Huge shout out to Fran Brown in Syracuse. I mean, we spoke about Brahim Long, how he played, some of the South Jersey guys, but huge shout out to Fran Brown. That was a huge statement win. The first time they won, at Clemson in a very long time. So salute to Fran, one of my high school teammates. I gotta, you know, give him an extra shout out for that win. That was huge.
Yeah, that was a huge win. I know going into the week there was the clips and whatnot when they were interviewing him in the press conference, and he was saying, "Hey, I don't care what Vegas has to say." Vegas said Canelo Alvarez was going to win. He didn't win, so he definitely had some good sound bites throughout the past week. But that was a huge win for Syracuse going on the road. I mean, Clemson is a tough place to play. And I know Clemson struggled; they haven't lived up to their standard. Going into the year, they were the number 4 team in the country, a team with national championship aspirations. A lot of people had them as their preseason national championship pick. They've struggled a little bit, but regardless of what they got going on, for Syracuse to be able to go down there and win the way that they did. And then I know there was a little bit of a delay in that game too, so to be able to come out and still be firing on all cylinders and grind that win out on the road, that was a huge win. So as you said, definitely a shout out to Fran Brown and a couple South Jersey guys on the team helping out right now, making an impact, getting the job done. So definitely one that was huge for South Jersey this past weekend. So another game that we had last week was Burlington Township and Moorestown. Burlington Township improved to 4-0 for the second year in a row. It's the fourth time they've done so since 2017. And huge performance for Aiden Bins, running back with 318 yards and 4 touchdowns. And no better time, I think, than to bring our first guest on. We have Aiden Bins on hold right now after an 18-yard game and 4 touchdown game. Aiden, thanks for joining us. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Aiden, first off, you guys are 4-0 again for the second year in a row. You guys played Morristown last week, a dominant win. You guys have been rolling on all cylinders. 42.8 points per game so far this year through 4 games. You guys have only allowed 29 points in 4 games. I know you had a huge game, 318 yards, 4 touchdowns. Have you ever had a performance that big before, playing youth or anything like that? Or was this the biggest game you've ever had?
In youth football, I definitely have, but it's obviously a big jump from youth football to high school. So I really put that in the past and just I'm just happy with what I accomplished in high school so far. But I'm definitely keeping the roll on. That's definitely not gonna be my biggest performance. I definitely feel like I'll have an even bigger one soon, for sure.
And I know you guys are under the direction of a second-year coach at Burlington Township, Stephen Everett. I got to know Stephen very well over the years when he was at Willingboro. I covered those guys a lot when I was writing for the Burlington County Times. Covered them all the way to a regional championship one year. What's it been like playing for Coach Everett the past 2 years? What's it been like just in terms of culture? And obviously, you guys have had a lot of success. You guys have won a lot of games. What's the vibe been
Yeah.
like in school and in the locker room? What's it been like playing for him?
Well, the first thing he even told us when he came in here is that he wants to make us better men more than football players. So I definitely feel like he changed the culture when it comes to us feeling cared about as players. Coach Everett's just the most caring coach you could have. He don't care about football unless you're a man first and you're good in the classroom. His saying is bees are better. So he definitely changed the culture when it comes to us just being good men, and I feel like that's really important.
Absolutely. Rick, Chris?
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Aiden. Pretty much, it seems like you guys have been off to a very dominant start this season. You guys have only allowed 29 points so far, 4-0, undefeated. Big matchup this weekend against Delran. What has been, I guess, the biggest key to success so far to you guys? I guess pretty much dominating wins each week.
I really feel like it's our coaching. It's that helps us dominate our games. We watch a lot of film, and really all of us just listen to our coaches, listen to everything we're taught, and we're just a good team with our coaching. For real. We all come together, listen, and that's just our success.
Well,
Now,
Aiden,
Aiden, I know
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick.
Nah, you got it. I'll wait. I'm gonna come back. I got some. My questions be a little different, but y'all can go ahead.
No, absolutely. Rick's the one who's outside the box, so he's going to definitely get you with a good one. So, no, I know outside of football, I know you're a wrestler as well, and I know something. Coaches of every sport emphasize players being active in the off season, whether it's being in the weight room, playing other sports and whatnot. How does wrestling sort of help you prepare for football season? Is it being competitive? Is it the strength that needs to be involved with wrestling? How does it help you prepare for football season?
I think it just keeps me out of the mindset of being lazy, and also being in wrestling shape is one of the best wrestling shapes. It's one of the best shapes in all sports for us. So I feel like that helps me be able to constantly take carries and everything. I'm just in the best shape ever when I'm in wrestling season. So that just gets me ready for football, and then strength wise too, and helps my mental toughness and everything. So I feel like wrestling just develops me as a person for real, and yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that was the question I was going to go to about your wrestling background. But off of that wrestling background, I know how wrestling is. You come out of football season, you go right into it. Are you still training some days? What's your training regiment? Being as though you are a good football player and wrestler, do you do both
Um,
during this time?
So since football is my main sport, in football season I don't usually train wrestling at all.
Mhm.
But in wrestling season, at least 2 to 3 days a week, I'm out doing football lifting or field work or some type of action with football. So
Mhm.
I definitely keep football as my number one all the time. But yeah,
Yeah. And I know some of the guys, they probably haven't seen you play, but I've watched you play since you were little, coming up, through the Hurricane organization. And I always
yeah,
saw that you had a little wiggle with you, right?
totally.
some of the backs, they're downhill, they're looking for contact, but you kind of got a little bit of both, and it's kind of you kind of are deceiving when you run. Where did the wiggle come from? How did you get that?
um, so in youth football, what a lot of people don't know is I've always been a running back, but I was really a defensive player. I was gonna like stick with defense coming up to high school, but last moment, one of the coaches at the high school was like, "Yo, you'll be a good running back. Like, come work out with me." And you guys may not know him. His name is Marcus Fulmore. So I've been training with him a lot. I always train, and Ev Wormley too. He's a receiver trainer. So they all help me with getting my wiggle in, stuff like that. So I developed it. It did not come naturally at all. I will be completely honest. It did not come naturally.
For
I
sure.
was always the person who never really, had to wiggle naturally. But I did a lot of training for it. So
And another question I want to get into before I turn it back over to the guys. Coming into the season, everybody always has a team goal and a personal goal. So, what are some of your goals that you want to accomplish, as well as some of your team goals?
my personal goals is I want to definitely be an all-state running back this year. Um, I want to wake everyone up, especially since I got injured last year. So
Mhm.
that's been one of my goals. I want to be over 1,000 yards, and also I want to have no injuries. I want to be able to have a healthy season. And then a team goal I definitely want to have is I want to bring a state championship to Burlington Township. That's been one of our goals, and I feel like this team this year is special, and we have the shot to do it. So.
Yeah, so Aiden, obviously, Chris mentioned you guys have a big game coming up this week against Delran, a divisional opponent right down the road there on Route 130. I know you guys had your way with them last year, 31-10, but moving on now, it's another big game. Both are coming in undefeated. I know you guys aren't looking past them. What have you guys done so far to prepare for them, and how excited are you guys for this game?
Obviously, just a lot of film. Just knowing that these teams are gonna game plan for us a certain way, and we kind of try to game plan off of what we think they're gonna game plan off of. But we really treat all of our opponents the same. So us looking at Delran like, oh, it's gonna be a big game. It's really like nothing different from what we've done before. Like we don't look at other teams and look at the scores from the other games and say, oh, we're gonna game plan less for this game. We're always gonna be us. So we're game planning for them the same as everybody else, the same intensity and everything. So I honestly know it's going to be a big game, good game, but we're doing the same thing. We're just going to watch film and prep the best way we can.
Definitely the right approach. Chris, Rick, anything you guys got?
Yeah, I had a question just about your team, your teammates. How instrumental are they, offensively? You have a good quarterback, your offensive line is pretty good. Like, how instrumental are they, on and off of the field for your success that you've been having?
Well, my line, speaking of my line, they all call me the best running back in the state every day. So they give me a lot of support off the field, on the field. And then I really just feel like our offense all has such a good bond together. I feel like we all like off the field, it really just clicks on the field for us. We don't really have to try. When it comes to being on the field together, we don't even have to like force anything. We have such a good bond off the field that like when we get on the field, it's perfect for us. So I feel like we're all so supportive of each other. We all know that if we come together, we can have something really special. And just knowing that at the end of the day, we all just click and we're something special together.
My last question, fellas, I'm springing this on y'all, but this is something that I wanted to ask the players. It's just a quick three. So, just quick three questions. What is your meal before the game?
So I'm actually not a person who likes to eat before the game, but my coach forces me to eat. So I either have pasta with red sauce or peanut butter and jelly.
Okay, okay, okay. And
Hey,
the
good
next,
choices right there. Quick carbs. Quick carbs. Get the
listen,
energy going. That's a good choice.
exactly. And what's your playlist? What do you got to listen to before the game?
For y'all who don't know, Lil Baby is my number one. I will have Lil Baby on mix the whole time. No one else. Lil Baby is my number one forever.
Okay. And the last one, are you a silent assassin or are you a talker on
It depends on what the other team is doing.
the field?
I'll come to the
I feel
game
that.
extremely quiet, and I sit by myself, headphones on, chilling. I'm good. But if a team comes up to me and I'm like I'm doing them in, and they're still talking. Like I'm gonna let them hear it a little bit, but I'm definitely a humble person, so it comes sometimes.
All right. So
That's a good
so
answer right there.
that's all I needed to know. But before you get out of here, make sure you let everybody know where they can follow you and where you guys will be playing next.
Um, well, you can repeat that question for me.
Just let everybody know your next game and where they can follow you, your socials.
Yeah. So my Instagram is Aiden__Bins. My Twitter is Aiden_Bins21. And yeah, that's that. And then our next game's at Delran High School at 7 p.m. I'm pretty sure. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. I'm pretty sure. So yeah. And then just come out and see his work. That's all we can do.
I know one of us will be there. That'll be me. I'll be there this weekend. Check out
Perfect.
Brown
I'll
Sergeant
be there
Delran.
too.
Huge game. So I'll definitely see you guys on the sidelines and whatnot for this huge game this week. But Aiden, we thank you for taking the time out of your night to join us, having a great conversation with us, and we wish you guys the best of luck the rest of the season. And congrats on what you guys have accomplished so far. I know there's bigger goals at hand, but congrats on the quick start, the good start, and good luck the rest of the way.
Sir, thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Salute. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Man, what a great kid. Very well spoken. Great player. Like, it's a good guy, man. I like it. I like it. Silent
He's
assassin,
almost
but
at
if
one of
they
his goals
talking, I'm
too.
talking. That's how I like it. Listen,
No, that
good
was a
dude.
good answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's the right approach to have for the game. And then if it gets to talking, it gets to talking. As long as you can back it up. And I
That's
know
it.
Aiden's a confident player, and he's gotten the job done so far with 300 yards and 4 touchdowns last week. So that's definitely a big game on the radar this week. Burlington Township and Delran. Chris, before we go into our next guest, because obviously our next guest is the coach who will be coaching in a huge game this week. Just take us through. We'll finish up with that one, but take us through a couple other games coming up this week that you have on the radar.
Alrighty, so we got a Thursday game. Thursday's been blessing us this year. Usually is about one or two pretty good games this year so far on Thursday nights. So the Thursday game I've got this week, I've got Camden Eastside at Kingsley. Both 3-1 head into that matchup. They haven't really played each other historically. I know last year they did. Kingsley won that matchup 16-8. Kingsway, the Dragons are coming off of a 36-0 victory over Delsey, and Eastside's coming off of a huge dominant win over Lenape 26-3. It was crucial for them to get that win, especially having the offensive dominance that they had. I know Eastside's been predominantly a very defensive-heavy team, especially the past couple of years. Offensively, they kind of sputtered a little bit. Like I mentioned before on the shows beforehand, Preston Brown, it seems like he's got that offense, starting to hit their second gear almost pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a team that's off to a good start, 3-1 this year after a season of going winless last year, playing a lot of tough opponents. They're definitely getting off on the right foot this year. What other games are on your radar this week, on Friday and Saturday that you're looking forward to seeing?
So I'm looking at Friday. We mentioned Holy Spirit earlier in the show. They are headed to Cedar Creek, who we also mentioned earlier in the show because of last week's guest, James Melody. So Holy Spirit at Cedar Creek, a huge Cape Atlantic League matchup. Cedar Creek has won 3 of the last 5 matchups in 2014, 2015, and I mentioned 2021 season earlier, a 7-6 win in 2021, where both teams have probably looked arguably the best, probably looked the most loaded they have in the past 5 years, with how much talent each team had on those teams. Holy Spirit has won 2 of the last 3 matchups, though, in 2020 and last year in 2024. It seems like this matchup's never really disappointed. Since 2021, it's been a fairly close affair. I think every single matchup since then has been either a 1-score or 2-possession contest. So it should be a pretty good one. It should be a pretty close one. I'm looking forward to seeing the final score of that one.
Absolutely. 2 Cape Atlantic League foes, and Cedar Creek, obviously a program that just, came into existence in 2011. So you mentioned they've won 3 of the last 5. They've only met 5 times because of how new, Cedar Creek is. I know 2011 has been some time now, but it's new in terms of a football program when you consider a lot of high schools been around for, over a century and whatnot. So that's one, like you said, has always proven to be a good matchup, and 2 teams that have been solid this year. I know Cedar Creek's been trending upwards lately with the win over Atlantic City and then following that up with a dominant win over Hamilton. Holy Spirit coming off a tough loss to Camden, but Holy Spirit's looked good so far early this season too. They're 2-2 with losses to Northern Highlands and Camden, two really good opponents who have sectional championship and state championship aspirations. So definitely a spot for Holy Spirit to try to get right here, so to speak. And I know that's going to be a tough one, having to go on the road and play in Egg Harbor City on a Friday night, which is rare. We haven't seen many night games there, being, as I said, that's a newer program, and I know they didn't have lights for a long time. So definitely going to be an interesting thing to see going down there to Egg Harbor City and having to play there on a Friday night and seeing what that atmosphere is like.
Yeah, so we've also got St. Joe's Hamilton heading down to Lower Cape May on Friday night as well. St. Joe has won 2 of the last 3 matchups, both in 2010 and 2011. Lower Cape May won the most recent contest, which was last year, 29-12. And since we are getting into about the midway point, give or take, of the season, we're starting to see some of the divisions kind of shake out. So the winner of this one gets the top spot in the West Jersey Football League Liberty Division. I know there is still a good amount of season left to play, but these mid-season games where you're at the midway point or just about the midway point of the season, you need to win some of these division games. So this one is huge for both those teams, and the winner gets that top spot heading into next week with the Liberty Division crown pretty much not set in stone, but in their favor.
Yeah, no, and those are two programs who, are off to a good start this season. And St. Joe's Hamilton, we mentioned on the show last week, going into that week, one of the games to watch was them playing Cumberland, another team who was off to a good start. Cumberland was off to their best start since 2008, and St. Joe's Hamilton grinded out a 13-3 win, and they're 3-0 right now. This is a program that traditionally is one of the best in South Jersey history. They struggled for a little bit. They had a winless season. Last year, they only won 2 games, and right now they've already surpassed that win total, and they're off to a good start. And now, as you said, have an opportunity to play for, advantage in their division, take a lead and whatnot, and pretty much control their own destiny in terms of a division title. So what other games are you looking at? I know I can look at my list. Looking at my list here, it looks like you have one more before we get into the game of the week. And then before we get into the game of the week, I have one written down too that might not be on your list, but I definitely want to mention before we talk into the game of the week.
I might have one as well, but go ahead.
We might be thinking about the same one. I'm interested to see now because it might be the same one, but we'll see. Maybe not. Maybe not. Probably not. Let's see.
All right, so I'll go with the game that I had listed here. One we just talked about, probably about 10 minutes ago, Burlington Township at Delran. Like we mentioned, both 4-0, both undefeated, both looking for, establishment in South Jersey of, a very astounding 0 on their record in the loss column. So Burlington Township has won 4 of the last 5 matchups by a combined score of 107-51. Delran's last win in the series came in 2023. They won 21-14. And like I mentioned with the last matchup, winner takes the top spot right now in the West Jersey Football League Independence Division. And it's going to be a tight race heading on the backstretch of the season, and this game could possibly prove very crucial to both teams.
Absolutely, and show's called by the numbers, obviously. So some key numbers I found this morning in terms of this game. Burlington Township is 7-3 in the last 10 meetings dating back to 2003. I mentioned when Aiden joined us earlier on the show, Burlington Township threw 4 games this year, 42.8 points per game, and the defense has only allowed 29 points total through those 4 games. They're 4-0 for the second straight year. It's the 4th time since 2008. And on the flip side of that, their opponent, Delran, who is hosting this huge game this week, they're off to their second straight 4-0 start. They have 3 straight shutouts. They haven't allowed a point in their last 3 games. And then in their first game, you guys seen them at Battle at the Beach. They played Bridgeton. They allowed 7 points in that game. I mean, 7 points in 4 games is quite remarkable. And 3 straight shutouts is definitely something hard to do. So I'm really looking forward to that game. I plan to be there this Friday, and it should be a good game. And as you said, someone's going to leave this game 5-0. Someone's going to leave this game 4-1. I know neither team wants to be on that side of it, which in the long run, though, 4-1 ain't bad. Both of these teams are going to be competing in the playoffs, and it'll be an experience to learn from. But someone's going to leave this weekend 5-0, and that's going to be huge going into the next week. So the game I wanted to mention before we moved on, and I know Rick has one too, jumping to Saturday at 1 p.m., we have 3-1 Eastern at 3-1 Pennsauken. Another division game. Was that the one that was on your mind, Rick?
That's the one. That's the
That's the
one.
one. Yeah, so my friend is actually on the staff at Eastern. It's his first year there, so he keeps me updated on what they got going on. And they've been very optimistic the past couple of weeks, 3 wins in a row. And he was texting me the other day. He said, "Hey man, Penn Salkin next week. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one. Division game. Another one of those games where whoever comes out on top, establishes a little bit of footing in the division race, and whoever comes out on top will be 4-1, which is huge for both of these teams. As similar to Berlin Township and Delran, both of these teams have playoff aspirations and should be competing in the playoffs. So this is definitely a huge opportunity for both teams. A couple numbers about this.
Oh, did Kev go out? Did he freeze up?
It's not me this week. Not
It's
yet,
not
at
you?
least.
Kev, you froze up a little bit. Are you back?
I did freeze up. I think I'm good now. Can you guys hear me?
We could hear
Yeah,
you.
I think it should be good. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Pensalkin has won 9 out of the last 12 meetings in this series. Last year they played, and Pensalkin won 49-29. In that game, Randall R.J. Blunt, the Temple commit, who, Chris, I know you've mentioned on previous shows just for how tremendous of a player he is. Last year, 346 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns in that win for Penn Salkin over Eastern. And he's back this year, so I'm sure Eastern's doing a lot of scouting, watching a lot of film, and trying to find a way to slow him down, as well as their other playmakers. And Penn Salkin's going to have their work cut out for them, too, because Eastern has a lot of playmakers as well, a lot of guys who are underrated in South Jersey. Terry Cook. I know Max Cutler, I believe his name is, had a huge game last week and the week before. And Eastern's last win in the series was in 2017, a 40-21 decision. So that's a game I'm looking forward to. I plan to be there as well this weekend. We'll see how Saturday goes, and I'm looking forward to that one because there's a lot on the line with that game. Rick, what intrigues you about that matchup, Rick?
Just the overall aspect of the game, and like you said, both teams are pretty much even. I think they match up very well with each other. It'll be a good test for both teams to see where they really are. Um, I can't express how much I love Pensalkin's running back. So we got a chance to see him. I believe that was it last year or the year before, and he was
Last year against
absolutely,
Vineland.
yeah, he was just he's a stud, man. He's a really good football player. Like you said, he's a Division 1 football player, so people will get a treat to see him play. And then, Terry Cook, man. I mean, it's a kid that's, I've been watching him play, football since he was 4 at starting in flag football out here at Eastern. I mean, the field is right behind my house, so I've been used to hearing that name scoring a lot of touchdowns. So it'll be pretty interesting to see the matchups of how Pensar can try to take him away, and then how Eastern defends, the running game from Pensalkin. But there's a little gem in this game. Um, Carter for Eastern, number 23. He's a freshman, really good. He's a gem. And if you sleep on him based on his size, you'll be surprised really quick. He's a really good football player.
Yeah, and Eastern's a team that's rolling on all cylinders right now. 3 straight wins after a loss to Cherry Hill East in their opener. I know in that game they were down big to Cherry Hill East. They rallied back and then
Mm-hmm.
fell short towards the end. And Cherry Hill East is undefeated right now, and then responding with 3 straight wins. And you mentioning Terry Cook, if I'm not mistaken, when you hosted that 8th grade combine a couple years ago, I remember him being there with Samaj Beals, who's over at Roman Catholic right now, who's committed to Akron. Karan Ali, who we mentioned in the show, who's having a great year this year down at Winslow, committed to Towson. Amir Dunbar, running back, who's been a standout at Cedar Creek so far this year, committed to Maine, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So
Keep
you've
going. It's
definitely seen a
more.
lot. You
It's
see,
more. We got
there,
to keep
there,
going.
the, I don't
Donovan,
remember. I don't remember all of them. I got the what you call it. I
the
have
list.
I got the list somewhere. Kanai Golden, who's at Haddon Heights. I know there was a lot of talent at that combine that day
Listen,
at that Marlton Fieldhouse. So I got the list somewhere. I don't have them all right off the top of my
yeah,
head right now, but there was a
we
lot of talent.
we could go over to St. Joe's Prep with Charlie Falk, his quarterback, who has about 15 offers, Division 1. We got some other guys that are at that committed to Penn State. Some other people committed to Donovan. He committed to Villanova. That was a loaded showcase, and that's the purpose
Absolutely.
of it. So, like when we start talking about some of these guys that been seeing, we've been seeing these guys for a very long time, and it's always exciting when we get to talk about them actually producing on the field.
Absolutely. And between, you invited me to those events over the years. And then also, I remember a couple years ago going down to Ray Lawry's camp down at Kingsway. He was a standout at Kingsway before he went on to Old Dominion, played with Travis Fulgham. You guys probably remember Travis Fulgham, who was on the Eagles, had a good stretch there. Yeah, he would have the same kind of events. And there was a lot of guys. I remember going down there and seeing, like Cam Miller, who's at Kentucky now, who's at Winslow. And there was so many guys you seen playing that. Deshaun Long, who was at Washington Township, guys that were in seventh, eighth grade, and you're like, people were telling me like, "Yo, I coached this guy in 7-7. Like, he's the truth. He's gonna be good." And then a couple years later, you see your names in the newspapers online and stories and stuff like that. You see them on Twitter, and people are mentioning them. Guys, Mark Tribble's mentioned on his show every Wednesday, and it's like,
Right.
yeah, man, we've been seeing these guys since they were in eighth grade, and people told us they were going to be good, and they usually end up being pretty darn good. So yeah, I remember Terry Cook's a name that stood out for me. I remember him being there at that event, and he definitely was a standout that day. Between the skills combine and the 7-on-7 tournaments and whatnot, definitely a lot of great events that we've seen this talent on display at. So moving forward, the big one this week, Camden at Rancocas Valley, two top teams in South Jersey fighting for bragging rights. It's a divisional battle. I know Camden has won the last two matchups in 2024 and 2017. RV last one in 2016, 28-12. And if RV wins, they hold the top spot in the West Jersey Football League Colonial Division. If Camden wins, they increase their chances of a division title. As previously mentioned, both teams coming off huge wins. RV, without their starting quarterback, goes on the road and finds a way to grind out a win against Shawnee. Camden goes on the road to Holy Spirit and is able to pull out a win down there in Absecon. Huge game this week, and I think there's no better time to bring on our next guest. We have Rancocas Valley head coach Garrett Lucas joining us tonight to talk about their huge win over Shawnee and to preview the huge game against Camden this week, Friday night in Mount Holly. So, do we have Coach Lucas on the line?
Yeah, how you guys doing?
What's up,
We're
Coach?
good. How are you, Coach? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here with you.
Well, we appreciate you coming. Last week, as we mentioned, a huge win over Shawnee. Everyone knows you guys are without Savion Adams right now due to an injury. Malcolm Harrison has stepped in for you guys. I know some guys that had a big game last week include Jameer Bellamy. You guys were able to get the run game going, and the defensive line has been a strength for you guys early this year. How are you guys able to go on the road and grind out a win like that against Shawnee? What worked for you guys? How are you guys able to pull through and pull out that win?
Yeah, I think what's been really fortunate and nice for us are the teams that we've played far in the year, systematically and schematically, they have all been pretty similar in terms of what they run: inside zone, outside zone, split zone. So you're seeing a lot of the same run fits. So you really see the progression in our defense where everybody's understanding, if I see a base block, this is where I need to fit, how I need to fit. And you can kind of see them settle in the course of the game. That's what's fun ultimately, too, because all these guys, they're returners from last year and they're going to be returning again next year. So it's like you just get to see this really cool progression with these same guys. And, you turn on even the Camden film from last year, and it's like, this is how you were playing inside zone last year. This is how you just played against Shawnee. Look at the difference. And like the light bulb goes off because, again, it's football players, physical learners. You know what I mean? So that's where you can really see that growth and progression, and it came into fruition. We knew Sean 100%. They're always well coached. I mean, look, they beat Camden. They had, I think, 62 yards of offense. So it's impressive. I mean, pick six, a special teams, kickoff return for a touchdown. Those things matter. They will, come to bite you in the butt if you don't, make sure you're covering yourself on all three phases of the game.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned, Savion Adams hasn't played the last two games. And obviously it's an all-state level quarterback right there at dual threat. He's going to be playing at Monmouth University. It's hard to replicate what he brings to the table, but you guys have been able to grind out two key wins without him. How have the other guys risen to the occasion? And you mentioned that you have a lot of veterans back and guys who've been in these situations before. Just how has that experience helped, and how have they, risen to the occasion with Savion unavailable the past two games?
Yeah, extremely proud, obviously, first and foremost, of our offense and defensive line. These guys have stepped up, and you can see it in the first game against Millville each week. They're just becoming more consistent. That's the two big words that we use in our program: consistency and trust. The I and consistency, I have to be consistent as a football player. The trust it's a two-way street with us. It's players, it's coaches, and vice versa. It's when they play together. So you can kind of see both lines growing as a unit and playing as one. What was really the difference maker, I think, for us, what were our skills were stepping up in terms of the way that they were blocking for each other. When you play the higher level that you've played, I've kind of even seen this. Used to be at Delran, now in Group 5 territory. You can see the perimeter blocking be elevated. So when these guys are blocking for each other, I mean, I told him 52 carries, 300 plus yards against a very good, Shawnee defense. That's something I'm proud of. It's something to move forward with and know you can do every single week from here on out. But you have to want to do it, And as a wide receiver or a running back, sometimes I want to catch the ball, I want to run with the ball. But seeing the way that these guys have gotten after it, that's what's going to impact the score at the end of the game.
Absolutely, Chris, Rick.
Yeah, Coach. I guess the mental aspect of it. How does a team, I guess, kind of recover from losing a leader like Savian and someone who can change the game in the drop of a hat? Mentally,
Yeah.
how do you, I guess, prepare to lead the team with that?
It's funny because it's like he's going to be gone no matter what at the end of the year for next year. So it's kind of thoughts and processes that we've already. What would our plans be moving forward? This kind of just speeds everything up and forces you to do so. The great news about Savian is that he's going to be back a lot faster than what we all expected. So we got a really good news. He's moving around and to see what it looked like that night and to think like, wow, this could be really bad. To seeing the way that he was moving around today, it puts a smile on your face. But ultimately, the type of kid Savian is he's had Malcolm's back since day one, and vice versa. Malcolm's like, hey, I'm kind of holding the fort down until you come back, brother. That it's not like I want the spotlight. There's not that between either of them. So to see how his leadership style has had to switch, where he has to be a vocal leader, he has to kind of help him out even during practice, and vice versa. His teammates have to watch or watch, kind of work through some and recovering. That's been fun. Just fun to see how he's handled it. And he's only done great things where it's going to put him back on the field a lot sooner than I thought.
I know you guys have had some additions over the week. Terrence Knighton, obviously, joining the lineup. I know Aaron Bright returned from an injury, if I'm correct. How has that helped, having these guys back? And obviously, you guys got a huge game this week, and then obviously some big ones down the road. How does that help getting these guys back and, having more weapons available at your guys' disposal like that?
I think it's great because truly we only have one two-way starter, if you would. We're about in that 9 to 10 range of guys that are just focusing on one side of the ball. So that's where we'll tell them every single game from here on out is going to be a long, almost like a boxing match. You have to throw your punches selectively, be able to take some on your own, and these guys like Taryn or Julian Carter or like you just said. We had a young guy who has been more of a running back for us, JJ Stewart, sophomore. He stepped up, had a 10 tackle game, and then vice versa. He comes over against Shawnee and punches 50 yards and just made some huge plays when we needed them. Some 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s. We kind of call him and Jameer like thunder and light. You know what I mean? Where one's a little more of a thumper, the other one obviously elusive, get after it. But vice versa. Jameer, that was his first time in his career that he's had 30 carries, and he wanted more.
Coach, I watched you guys, especially at the Battle at the Beach versus Millville. You guys were kind of getting after the quarterback there. Your defensive line is really good. They get pressure on the quarterback and kind of disrupt things. What have those guys done over the offseason to get better at pass rushing and, like you said, playing the zone? What are some of the things that particular group has done to get better on game day?
Yeah, I would say the way that they train. We started in January. We lift 3 days a week. They'll do some position specific work, but honestly, it's it's weird to say, but it's taking care of their wrists, making sure that they're squatting correctly, front squat, back, building their muscles. I mean, if you were to watch, and it's almost like a lot of people see Michael Beasley. If you watch David Ogunzola, and I'm not taking away from Beasley, I love him, but David Ogunzola, he's like the older brother for Michael Beasley, and what frees up Mike is a lot of what David O is doing. I mean, he the way even in our Toms River North game, our sectional championship last year, I mean the way he's punching that kid that's at Florida State now. You're talking a 5'10" defensive end. Now David O, he's pound for pound probably one of the strongest kids in South Jersey. Over 450 pounds squat. His deadlift is 700 pounds. His bench is through the roof, and he's just chiseled. There's not like a lick of body fat on the kid, and he has a 4.9 GPA. So it's just like he is that kid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of helps him. Where he can recognize things, and his communication has gotten more violent, even the way that they play. So you can see that where they build that in January, they keep doing it February, March. He started pulling offensive linemen, and the only person that he wanted to go against was Jordan Evans, or 6'6", 350-pound tackle. And if Jordan lost a rep or won a rep, like, all right, no, run it back, to the point where I'm like, guys, all right, you just did 50 one-on-one reps, and it's
Yeah.
March, like, calm
Yeah.
down. So it's just it's the way that they attack it. You know what I mean? And they love the grind. You can see that, and that's where they've also understood that you have to earn the right to rush the passer. You don't take care of the run, they're going to run the ball the entire game. So
Right.
if you really want to get those sacks, and those TFLs better mean a lot more than a sack.
And just piggybacking off of the quarterback situation with Malcolm and
Yep.
Savion, how important is it as for program structure? Because I've seen some programs where the JV team, they go and play, and they're not doing what the varsity is doing. They're
Oh
kind
yeah.
of deviating away just to make it work for the JV. How big was that structure that you guys had, so he would be able to go in and still understand the play calls and things like that?
I mean, it was huge. Our JV program, I think, within the last 3 years, obviously this is the fourth year we've been there, they might have lost 3 games in total.
Mm.
And Malcolm was the JV quarterback all last season, running our system. We're not a team where, and I get nitpicky at times, where if I'm watching the freshmen, if I see an incorrect motion or the way that they're breaking the huddle, I'll snap down and jump on it and correct it real quick. But when they see, like, okay, hey, this is what Sabian's doing at varsity. If I want to get to that level, this is what I need to do. And it's a top down approach. You know what I mean? If they see it done correctly up there, and even just making sure that the guys are holding each other accountable. If just what you said, if it's the way Saban conducts himself, even as far as character purposes, it's that next quarterback. He better be doing the same, if not more. And that has allowed Malcolm Harrison to really just step in. And it's funny because somebody asked me a couple weeks ago, like, kind of like, are you guys nervous at all? I was like, I got to be honest, I'm excited. It's just fun because he is such a good kid. He's the starting catcher on the baseball team. In the winter, he is a scout girls basketball player. Like, he'll actually go and help the girls team, just be a scout team player. Another kid at over 4.0 GPA. So he's just such a well-rounded kid that you're like, at the end of the day, you're going to do the correct things. He hit Jameer Bellamy for a 4-yard pass. Jameer turns it into 45. If that's Savion, he's going high to low and probably trying to air it out to what would be the corner route on that play, where we're like, no, buddy, sometimes you just got to check it down, and guess what? These guys will do the rest of the work for you.
Yeah.
And obviously a big game this week that we mentioned, playing Camden. You guys played them last year, fell short. How did you guys learn from that experience, and how is it helping you going forward into this game this week? And I know last year you guys went and played down there. You guys are at home this week, Friday night, 6 o'clock in Mount Holly, which has to be exciting for you guys. What did you learn from that experience last year, and how is it helping you guys prepare for this week?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, Coach Henson He runs a terrific program. I have the utmost respect for him. I've kind of got to know him just even, this would have been back when he was at Timber Creek, but then going up to Rutgers, having a couple guys there now. But it kind of funny story here. I don't think Rob would think it's funny at all, but we're at Syracuse, all right? And it was this past summer, and I don't know what his guys did, but he was correcting it. And we're getting ready to go on for our next 7-on-7. Look over, you just see the guys doing like through other teams 7-on-7. Screw them about to run their play or anything. I think Syracuse is actually about to have a private workout for a kid, and now you got Camden Panthers doing bear crawls, burpees, up downs, everything for something. But that's the kind of standard that Rob holds his kids to, and I love seeing that. You know what I mean? It's awesome just to see. As like a fellow admirer of like man, that's how you do it. And so to begin with that's why they're so successful, because those kids, they listen to him and they do their jobs. They are very well coached. They have great athletes. Braxton, I think, is a tremendous back. I mean, hell, you look all over. The Steele kid, the Muhammad kid. We got to see the quarterback last year because he played for Pleasantville. So we got a full game in with him, and great quarterback there. Ironically, their freshman quarterback, he played in our youth system. So I was watching him all last season. In our youth program. So it's like it's just continually seeing that, and sometimes you need to see that in order to know. All right, hey, this is what we can do or can't do. Last year we had a special teams miscue. You know what I mean? So you can't have that in these kind of games. I mean, again, if you look at the Camden Shawnee, obviously that's what happened. And even in our game, we muffed a punt, and that set them up right after we had a turn. Where anytime you're giving the other team, the ball on special teams, you're going to put yourself at risk. And he's done a pretty darn good job at making sure that they eliminate those things. So that's it's a great matchup and a great opportunity for our program to move forward in that next step that we want to be in terms of a championship contender.
Absolutely. Chris, Rick?
Nah,
I got nothing.
I'm just sitting here. I'm listening to the stories of them doing the bear crawls at Syracuse. You guys wonder why Fran had them running after the game, right?
Yep.
Coach Henson, Coach Fran, like that. He comes from that cloth of toughness.
100%.
I just wanted to just ask you just overall foundation of your program. I know you've been there a couple years now. Just getting into that program, where are you as far as being a coach to getting the program where you envisioned it when you took the job?
I think honestly we're right where we want to be, and I say that because looking back at year one, and this would even kind of be reflective of Del Rand. The biggest thing in the beginning was trying to separate the pretenders and the contenders. Guys that really want to be there and they're about that work, that they're about the grind. I mean, we put in a lot of time. We ask a lot from the off season. Realistically, we only give the guys off the month of December. It's whether it be 3 days a week lifting in the summer. I mean, I think we played more 7-on-7, in the last. I mean, heck, since I came to RV, it's I don't know than most teams probably have done in a decade. But a mixture of that and with what we do in our weight room, it's a lot. So you're gonna see who is truthfully about what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. And I've been so proud of the kids of the way that they've put in work to where you can truly see like they are committed. They want to be here. And the better part is that they are extremely coachable. We've weaned out, I like to say this every season because to me it's extremely true. My defense coordinator in college, he's the current head coach at Westminster. I got to coach tight ends for him, before I moved out here. But he always said, every year you begin, you have 80% of your team that's going to do what you want. You have 10% of that team that's going to go above and beyond, and then 10% that they have cancerous behavior or they have cancerous habits. So it's your job, as coaches, and this is the whole coaching staff. This is not just the head coach, to make sure that you eliminate that bottom 10% and you grow that top 10%. So at the end of the year, and it's been great to see, when you step in, you got guys that have never even played football but they I want to be a part of this new fresh thing. We had over 140 guys that came out the first year. And looking back, we were like, oh my Lord, like the headaches, the distractions, all over the place. To see where the roster is at, where it is truly guys, we are dressing the ones that are doing the right things. If you miss a practice throughout the week, you can't dress on a game. You know what I mean? It's our rule. It's it's one of those things that it has truly eliminated those guys that are pretenders. But at the end of the day, you've got guys that want to be coached, and to me that we live in such a you know it's amazing, but it's very different from when we all played. In terms of the way you can coach kids, and we do have those kind of kids. I mean, Jameer Bellamy, if you were to come around and practice, and he can handle tough coaching, and he has applied it. That's why he just had the kind of game because there's been games that he hasn't done what he is capable of, and he gets back to work, and you're going to get rewarded when you do those kind of things. So just even to see that kind of progression, individually here and there, like you said, Michael Beasley, he took some lumps, in the beginning of the year, but now he's corrected those, and that's why he is so darn successful and kind of living in quarterbacks' nightmares.
Yep. I'm all good, guys. I got other questions, but I know we might be going a little longer than what we intended. But coach, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
There
Coach,
we
can
go.
you hear me? Yeah. I that's kind of crazy that it zapped out. The other guys should be coming in. But
Okay.
my question was just going to be to wrap up. Like, what's your what's your ritual getting prepared for a game? You
No,
listening to
I'll go with
listening?
it because it's been the same thing. Yeah, this was kind of cool. My ritual has changed this past Friday, and I'm extremely blessed to have this individual, now standing with me on the sideline. But I work out at 5 in the morning. This is like so Friday 5 a.m. workout. But it was cool. R.J. Moten, who he played at Florida, he played at Michigan. He was just
Mm-hmm.
with the New England Patriots. He joined me for my little Friday 5 a.m. session. So I just think it's cool. One of your former players is waking up, getting the grind with you, then go to school, obviously teach and get after it in the classroom. And then after that, in between, I got about an hour and a half. And that's where I love the time of making sure that everything is good in terms of, our game day sheets, our play call sheets, any depth charts. Our coaching staff does a tremendous job, and I can't thank them enough. Dan Harris, our offense coordinator, Mike Wallace, our defense coordinator, Coach Haverstick, Coach Osborne, Coach DuBois, Coach Harvey. We have a great addition. Coach Harvey, he used to be the Lenpe head coach, uh, years ago, but it's just we have a plethora of guys that are really committed to this, and then we feed the kids all the time. We always bring them in. We'll show them something a little bit motivational, but that game day ritual 100% is always that 5 a.m. lift, and then I like to get out on the field with the guys a little bit, throw it around. I still wear cleats every game. It's like my one superstition that so that's like the unspoken rule I have for myself.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm all good, fellas.
I don't know if you had three questions like you did for the players too, so I was
Now
patiently waiting. But
he pretty much summed it up, with the whole ritual. I asked
yeah,
that question
that's a good.
because back in the day, '98, we were watching the program and different things like that to kind of get amped for the game. So it's always pretty cool to hear how everybody else kind of prepares for a game day.
Yeah, I got to work out, or like I'd probably go crazy. That's like I think it actually calms me down because if not, I mean I'm wired. It's I always say like I love coffee, but I can go all day. You know what I mean? That's I have too much.
Yes, sir.
But hey, that motivated me. I'm a workout after work kind of guy. So now I'm like motivated to get up at 5 a.m. and go work out. So.
Yeah, how you do. At the end of the day, I mean, come home to my wife and my two boys, and it's like WWF in here. So it's like, that is a mini workout or a black eye.
Listen, coach is from my era. He said WWF. I love it.
100. Yeah,
That's why I argue with my son all the time. WWE, I don't even know what that is, man. It's WWF. Hulk Hogan, leg drop, Coco Bird. You know what I'm saying? It's the junkyard dog, all of that, man.
right. 100%.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time out of your night to join us. A lot of good information there and good insight. We always appreciate, linking up with you and, taking the time to talk to us. And like I said, to when Aiden Bins was on the show, them guys are 4-0. You guys are 4-0. I know you guys have a lot more to accomplish, but congratulations on what you guys have gotten done so far, and best of luck the rest of the way. And I'm sure we'll definitely be out there and see you guys plenty of times the rest of the way here. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. And seriously, thank you guys for covering South Jersey football and just New Jersey football in general. It's kind of one of those things that I always feel like growing up in Western PA that we had people doing these things. Even whenever I moved out here, there were a couple, but nobody does it the way that you guys do it. Mark, and I think that it's a great benefit for our kids. Where they love tuning in, they love seeing everything that you guys post in the way that you get after it. So just from not even our kids, kids in South Jersey, thank you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
we appreciate it, Coach.
Appreciate it, Coach.
And the Valley's going to be rocking on Friday, baby. It'll be fun.
I'll be there.
Let's go, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank y'all. Have a great night.
You too.
Take care, Coach.
Yeah, great guy there. I got to meet Garrett Lucas when he was at Delray, and he mentioned having RJ Moten. Yeah, they had a couple good years there, so I got to know him, and they were, always a first-class, high-class program, very respectful, great guys, great players, and now a tremendous amount of success at Rancocas Valley. I know some people who, are at Rancocas Valley in the building and whatnot, and they said when Coach Lucas came there, I mean, the atmosphere, the culture, everything was just great. The energy was just different in the hallways, and they're off to a great start this year. And a wide-open Group 5 field. They're going to be looking to play for a state championship this year, and so far they're on the right foot. So again, we appreciate Coach Lucas coming on. I think that pretty much wraps it up for us. We appreciate our guests, both Aiden Bins from Breton Township and Garrett Lucas from Rancocas Valley, getting on tonight with us. We were able to talk about some of the big results from last week and preview some games from this week. And obviously the trivia question, I let one of you guys, we'll figure it out. One of you guys got to try to stump me next week. I had my turn this week. So, but before we go, I just want to always promote D2 Sports Network, the brand. You can catch us on Instagram at D2 Sports Network. We have great videographers, great photographers, colleagues that collaborate and whatnot that bring plenty of great content. And if you ever want them to come to your games, capture any moments, whether it be through photos and video, just reach out. And also check us out online at d2sportsnetwork.com. Tomorrow we will have a new article dropping that previews 8 of the top games in South Jersey from this upcoming weekend, and it also includes a full schedule if you ever want to take a look and say, hey, there's a game in my area tonight, I don't got nothing to do on Friday night or Saturday afternoon, I'll be out this way, oh look, there's a good game coming on. So make sure to check that out. Plenty of good information for you guys to take in. So Chris and Rick, anything you want to add before we go?
I got nothing.
Just to add the last thing, on YouTube and on Facebook, there are ways that you could donate, help us out. All of that goes to us putting on shows like this. We want to get to a point where we can kind of assist some of our writers and videographers who go out and cover these games. So there's super chats, different things like that. If you guys are interested or look to donate, don't hesitate. We don't turn it away, and all support is needed. But that's pretty much it.
Hey, you hit it right on the spot there. We thank you guys for tuning in to episode 5 of By the Numbers, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a good night.